Cloud. All right. Greetings, friends, jewelers, and fellow business builders. Welcome to the first JEMS webinar of 2024. There's a lot to talk about today. I'm sure you guys have been awaiting this with bated breath. It's long awaited, much anticipated, and we're happy to have you back. And we want more of you going forward, but we'll talk about that a little bit. Today, I want to do three things. Number one, I want to have a brief discussion about how the year ended up and what you guys are anticipating for the future. Secondly, I want to talk about some strategies heading into this year, given what I think is on the horizon for the future. And then the third thing I want to talk about is a review of all of the things that JEMS has to offer and, how you can and should take advantage of those things. I want to begin with a little bit of an announcement. A month from now, when we have our February marketing meeting, jewelry goddess Hadley Perry will be on the call. I just got off the phone with her a few minutes ago, and she and her assistant Emily will both be on the call to talk about things that they've achieved. They had a record year last year. They did 1.8 million in December. And to your question from earlier today, Eric, they did $400,000 off of the catalog.
Okay.
That represented 93 transactions, which was about a 2% response redemption rate.
Okay.
From what they offered, and what they. I'm talking about the card that they, their little booger card there.
Okay.
Their lowest offer was $100 off a purchase of $1,200 or more. They got 17 responses to that. They got what did she say? 21 responses to the $750 off, and I can't read that amount there, but it was like $2,500 or something like that.
Okay. But overall, again, it was a 2% response ratio is what she got.
Right. And that included redemptions of the card and also catalog sales. So in other words, there were some items in their catalog that did not qualify for the redemption. It had to be full price merchandise, and people bought the stuff anyway. So anyway, it accounted for about, at $400,000 out of 1.8 million, about 25, almost 25% of their sales came from the catalog. So,
well, what I'm more curious with is the fact that, they got 2% of these back.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting number. So, okay.
Right. Also, along those same lines, for everybody's benefit, asked her about, she'd been doing the catalog a couple of years before getting engaged with us. And she admitted that, the first couple of years weren't as strong. And although she didn't keep the best records possible, but she said she would go back and for next month's webinar, when we interview her, she should be able to tell us from the first time she did our style of catalog how things have gone since then. So it's gone much better. So, all right. Some feedback from you guys then. How did the year end up? How did you feel about it? And Eric, in particular, I'd like you to talk about it because of our discussion about comparing this year, not to last year, but to 2019, what the rationale for that is and what your thoughts were, in terms of outlook going forward.
Okay, thank you. So I'm looking I'm just working on cranking end of year numbers. 1.4. All right, so what with the company I've worked with in the past, which has done coaching for jewelers and stuff as well, it's the ARMS software company. When I was working with my mentor and boss there, is 2019 was our last normal year. Everything has, been drastically different since then. So I already knew going into December, we were not going to hit our numbers at all because we really hadn't hit them all year, especially being a bridal focused store. So what we looked at is 2023 for goal setting. We use a standard formula of a 10% increase in sales and profit every single year. So I just took that multiplier on my 2019 numbers, and that's how I set goals for December of 2023 and looking at the year. And we came close to hitting that overall. We did a little over $1 million in 2019. We're a little over 1.3 in 2023, which is a $400,000 drop from 2022 for us. But when I take that $1 million number of 2019, just keep adding 10%, 4 times, it comes up that we were close and we made goal that way. 2024, yes, will be our real test as to, is this the new normal? Will we get back on our growth curve for us? So, and just a quick wrap up on that. I just finished my calculations on. I extensively monitor what we call our diamond ring opportunity part of our business, as well as just door traffic. So door traffic actually for December, our year to date was down 6%, but December our door traffic was down 22% from last year and still lower than 2019 numbers. Year to date, our diamond ring opportunities were down 24%, but we're still maintaining a 50% or better closing ratio. But even the opportunities that we were given were down substantially. So that's what I'm hoping will change based upon conversations I've had and information that's been coming forward from the Signet Corporation. So I'm hoping by second quarter we will be back on the fast track of diamond rings for it. So that's kind of where I'm at there. So I'm okay with things, but I definitely want to be seeing growth in 2024.
Right. Okay. One of the things that you had talked to me about was this cyclical thing, particularly
Yes.
with the engagement stuff, and that was something that I wanted you to address.
Okay. Well, that comes out of the reports from Signet Corporation, who owns basically every mall jeweler in America at this stage of the game now, including Jared's, all that kind of stuff. They were already forecasting mid-year that bridal sales are going to be off because their analysis shows that COVID broke the 3 to 5 year cycle that they see that engagements run. So they were also, whether just warning their shareholders, I don't know, or whatever. And, mall businesses, they're maybe trying to pad themselves there. I don't know, but I think I'm seeing similar things. Other jewelers are seeing it. Other jewelers reporting in our ARM system worldwide. We're seeing it also that the COVID party is over. But it was interesting that Signet was looking at it, and they're also looking at by second quarter 2024, they're expecting bridal to come back because they show the bridal cycle for them is 3 to 5 years. They meet, they get together, maybe even have family, buy home, whatever. And it's that 3 to 5 year cycles when they start buying a diamond ring. And that cycle got broken by a year and a half or so during the COVID timeframe. So whether that comes to fruition, we'll definitely know by the end of second quarter of this year.
Right. Kevin, you have a take on how the year wound up for you? What I know that you had to drop off for a minute. You're just coming back in, and one of the things that Eric talked about was comparing 23 to 19 instead of 22 for the reason that COVID whacked things in 20, and we're still not fully back out of that. Any thoughts from you on the way the year wound up and what you anticipate going forward? Come on. All right. How about you then, Jim Ackerman?
I don't know the final numbers for reasons we've already discussed, but we were on track to do $1.5 million. And we certainly expected with any strength at all in December to do better than that. I would be surprised to learn that we didn't hit the $1.5 million amount.
Okay. What was the sales trend through the course of the year, and what do you anticipate heading into 24?
The sales trend was up pretty significantly for the whole year. We were beating last year's numbers by double digits every month, and on track. Like I say, we were on track at the end of the second quarter. $2 million was within reach. The third quarter slowed down a good bit. So we figured we'd be somewhere between 1.5 and 2, probably 1 3/4, whatever, but 1.5 was the goal. So I'd be absolutely stunned if we didn't hit 1.5. Probably $1.6 million, $1.7 million.
Okay, good.
Third quarter did hurt us though. September and October were tough, really tough for us.
Okay. All right. So heading into the new year, we have a couple of opposing situations. As Eric pointed out, we've got a prediction from the industry that suggests that there will be a comeback in the second half of the year, particularly with the bridal type sales. On the other hand, we have continued inflation, and one of the things that people I don't think as they watch the news headlines think about a lot, although they probably feel it in their bones, right, is if you go several quarters with 6% inflation, 8% inflation, 9% inflation, and 11% inflation. And that's, there's a cumulative impact there. So let's say inflation drops back to 3% or 4%. And it does appear to be coming down. And also remember that one of the reasons it's coming down is because the Fed has increased interest rates in order to tighten up the money supply and whatnot. So it makes buying things on credit more difficult. Then you add to that fact that you have an accumulated, when the 2020 election took place, November of 2020, I could buy gas for $1.89. Okay. That was at my local Sam's Club or Costco. So that they typically beat the rest of the gas market by as little as a nickel and as much as 25 cents. Okay. But I could legitimately buy gas for $1.89 on election day in November of 1920 or 2020. Okay. This year, I'm thrilled to buy gas at $2.54 today. Okay. And it was up over $3 a gallon. That kind of impact does not just go away, right? In other words, the price is coming down, but it's still the better part of $1 higher than it was in 2020. And we've had all the drain on our wallets between 2020 and now. And there's that cumulative effect. The cost of meat through the roof, the cost of basic staple groceries is it seems to me twice as much as it was 4 years ago. Now, I'm just using that as a time frame. I'm not trying to make any kind of political statement there. I'm just saying, here's the facts. And that puts strain on everybody. It's tough to make a $10,000 jewelry investment purchase when you're worried about, hey, my mortgage rate instead of 3.5% is 6.5%. I've got a car payment that is X, Y, or Z. I've got credit card interest rates that have, revolving credit where when, 4 years ago I was paying 18%, now I'm paying 28%. It just makes things much more difficult. So on one hand, we look forward to 24 and say the economy may get better relative to where it is today, but it's still not going to be particularly good relative to where it was 4 or 5 years ago, when people were feeling, frankly, that things were prospering and things were going well. So how does that bode for jewelry sales going forward? And you guys have experienced this already. For most of the country, Hadley Perry notwithstanding, most of the country, things have been down from what we've been able to assess, given our contact with you and other clients and other jewelers around the country. Would you agree with that, Paul?
I know there's been a lot of talk about struggle, and I don't know what the other stores in the area have been able to do. I haven't picked up on much locally. But we didn't feel a struggle per se. I mean, we had other issues and things to deal with, but we've just had a very warm welcome on the expansion and everything from the clients, and they just keep coming in and buying. We haven't felt any kind of a other than, like, say, that 2 months in the third quarter, it's been a really smooth year. It's been a really good year for us.
And the verdict's out on November and December for in terms of what you know about.
Yeah, I just don't have access to those final numbers.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
all right. Well, then the next question is, all right, what do we do about it? And we've talked about this a little bit before, and I want to address some of the same things that I've talked about before, and I want to get your feedback on it as well. So you've got a couple of things that you can do. Number one is, if you are anticipating lower response rates to your marketing by virtue of the fact that people simply can't afford to buy, or they bought jewelry during COVID and now they are into buying travel or some other form of gifting, or whether you think that engagement sales aren't coming back for at least 6 months, or whatever your anticipation is, if you're thinking that your advertising and marketing is not going to yield the same results that it has yielded in the recent past, then you're left in a real quandary. Do I keep spending money on marketing? Do I not spend money on marketing? Well, the answer is that you need to keep spending some money on marketing, but you may want to tighten your belt. What you do not want to do is stop marketing. That will not serve you either in the short run or the long run. But you might want to shift some things and where you can market a little bit more economically. So, for example, Kevin and I talked yesterday about his Valentine's Day effort and making it a digital only effort. We have classically, for the last 3 years, Kev, we've sent that Jeweler to the Rescue sales letter via the U.S. Post Office, whose rates, of course, continue to go up. And now this year we're going to try it digital only. We will send a series of emails and a series of text messages. So that will, the messages will be very similar. Because we're doing email, we can make them perhaps a little bit longer in not necessarily in verbiage, but in providing examples of actual products that they could buy. Instead of 3 or 4 examples, maybe we put in 5 or 6, that kind of a thing. But the point is, we are going to try it digital only, okay, and see what happens. The good news is we use basically the same promotion for Mother's Day, and it has fared well. We'll get a read on how it works for Valentine's Day, and if we need to, we can adjust for Mother's Day. That makes sense, Kevin? You want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, like you said, postage goes up, paper has gone up ridiculously. Where this used to be a $5,000 or $6,000 deal we did with the catalogs that I'd send out in addition. It's now a $8,000 to $10,000 deal, and Valentine's Day just isn't worth it. And we had a reduction in sales in one location, so I'm looking to cut expenses and try to market a little different.
Right. Right, exactly. And that's exactly the point. Market a little bit differently. Okay. So another thing that we've talked about in the past over and over again is upselling and add-on selling. You know, in other words, maximizing revenue from each and every selling opportunity that walks through the door. You know, again, I don't think you can do better than the yes point selling process for enabling you to get more out of every single purchase with the "is this adequate" question. And you know, we'll address more of that on an you know, on another time, but the fact of the matter is that is just powerful. And nobody feels upsold or add-on sold with it. And that's one of the powerful parts about it. Ought to be institutionalized in your processes for selling on the floor. Next thing that I want to address is the referral systems. Okay. These are almost, they're not free. You're providing rewards for people who send in their friends, relatives, neighbors, and business associates, but you pay very little upfront to get them to do that. And you know, in the best case scenario, referral programs work like a faucet. Okay, you literally can turn them on and they will generate results. And when you get to a place where you think you've got enough, which in the retail business, we don't ever get to that point. If you're a dental practice or a chiropractor or something, you can literally fill your practice. We don't have that limitation in retail. I suppose we might have to add personnel, but you can turn that faucet on, but most of us don't turn it on, or we only turn it on a little bit. And when I say that, I mean we technically kind of execute the hardwired side of the referral system, but never execute the softwired side of the referral system, because the softwired side is the part that is personnel dependent, that requires your people to do something. In other words, for us to send out a letter to customers, let's say you've got 12,000 customers on your list, and you said, okay, I'm going to send out 1,000 referral program introductory letters a month to cover that whole list over the course of a year, right? And so you send a letter that introduces the referral system or reintroduces the referral system. And with that, you send the 3 referral cards that the recipient can hand out to their friends, relatives, neighbors, and business associates. And that's the hardwired side of things, okay? The softwired side of things is your staff. When they get done with the sale, are they asking for referrals? Are they asking for names? Are they asking for other events and things like that? Are they asking people to take 3 cards and take and give them out to their friends, relatives, neighbors, and business associates? And we very weakly, if at all, execute that side of the referral system. And you know, people don't use the scripts. They just don't do it. And as a result, the number of referrals you get is less than what it could and should be for the same investment in dollars. So I would encourage you to relook at a formal referral selling system and consider that as a way to reduce your marketing and advertising costs, but you're going to have to train your people on how to execute that system and make sure that you're tracking their effort to actually execute that system. Okay. In speaking with Hadley earlier today, she had an interesting thing come up with the catalog, because as I mentioned, the most response she got from the catalog was sales that did not qualify for the offer on the card. So it was just a catalog purchase. And this is what I thought was telling about it. She had her staff members coming to her and saying, this purchase did not qualify for the gift card that went with the catalog. So how do we enter that into the system? What's the why in? And they had to add in just straight catalog purchase in there. But the reason I thought that was poignant is that Hadley has so well trained her staff on the importance of the tracking that they came to her and said, and there's more than one person was the implication from the discussion that I had with her. They came to her and said, hey, what do we do with this Y-in? You know, are your people trained well enough to make sure that A, they do the Y-ins, and B, if you introduce an upselling system or a referral system, will they execute it? Have you trained it consistently? And by the way, Hadley said, they do it because they hear me talk about it over and over and over and over again. She never lets up. She is constantly preaching the importance of that thing. So they're trained and they comply. Okay. So that I think is an important strategy that you can use. The next strategies that I want to talk about. So we've talked about upselling and add-on selling. We've talked about moving to a more digital model when it makes sense. At least we're going to be testing that. We've talked about doing ramping up your referral systems. The next thing I want to talk about is the possibility of generating new customers into the store without having to spend big media money. So in Eric's market, for example, well, slightly outside of Eric's market, don't you got the singer guy down there in Philadelphia? Eric, isn't he with the I hate so and so? What's his first name?
Stephen.
Yeah, I hate Steven Singer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He blasts that all over the radio. I don't know if he blasts it all over TV, but he's obviously become famous for it, and certainly in that market. But the cost for him to do that is relatively exorbitant because he's buying mass media. In our market, in fact, 12 markets around the country, there's a chain called Morgan Jewelers. They're headquartered here in Salt Lake, but they also have 11 additional stores, essentially in the Northwest. Okay, from here, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, I think is where their 12 stores are located. Same thing, they're blasting all over the airwaves, radio, and that costs them a lot of money, right? So is there a way that you can reach out to new prospects, but not have to spend mass media money to do so? And we've talked about two ways to do that in the past. Okay. And by the way, the referral system counts as one of those ways. But the two ways that we've talked about that is a digital marketing strategy based on over-the-top TV and some audio. You could do Spotify audio or podcast sponsorships or those kinds of things. iHeartRadio would provide you with some of those more limited options where you're only being heard by a specific audience demographic, and not just a broad radio demographic, but a very specific demographic that mirrors your best customers, right? Same thing with over-the-top TV that we could put in play where it just goes to those people who are most likely to be your clients who are streaming, that kind of a thing. And then the other thing that we talked about just a couple of weeks ago was the market segmentation piece, where we take a look at your best type of customers. We mirror that. We go in, get a market segmentation report so you can see what the not just the demographics, but the psychographics of that audience are. And then you can pick a number of a specific number of customers that you want, prospects that you want to reach out to. I equated this when Eric and I were talking earlier. I equated this to the program that Holly Weshy did in Melbourne, Florida, a few years ago, where she right next to her store, physically located next to her store, was a subdivision of about 500 homes that she had been unable to crack for years, right? Well, how does this mirror what we're talking about with this market segmentation thing? Well, you could tell certain things about that subdivision of 500 people, right? You know how subdivisions work. There's half a dozen floor plans, but the price of those houses is going to be relatively similar, and they'll all have been built at roughly the same time, within a matter of a couple of years of each other. So you can pretty well guess that whatever the socioeconomic level of one person in that subdivision is going to be fairly similar to the socioeconomic level of the other person. Now, we couldn't get any psychographics in there, but she mailed to those 500 people an expensive direct mail piece, right, that included a 2-page sales letter that introduced you to her store, 5 full-color photographs on individual cards that kind of gave you a visual tour of her store, and then an offer, right? And she got like a 12% response to that, a double-digit response to that cold list. And I equate that to what the market segmentation thing is doing without the hardcore geographic limitation of a subdivision. Now, I'm not saying subdivision would be bad. I'm just suggesting that you can say, okay, here are my best clients. We've gone in with these best clients and we've said, these are the characteristics of these best clients. Now, where can we find 500 of those, or by name and address, or 1,000 of those by name and address, and go out to just those people and invite them to come and experience your store. By the way, Holly did this, I know of, at least 3 times. Once, and I'm talking about 3 separate subdivisions. She did not go into the same subdivision 3 times with the same package, although that probably would have worked too. But she went to 3 separate subdivisions of roughly the same size and got roughly the same result.
Jim, let me throw in a variation on that same theme if I can.
Please.
We did a new move-in package. We put together a 4-color welcome card that said a little bit about the store, had some pictures of the staff and products and various things in it. It had a 2-page sales letter and a $100 gift card. And it just said, we'd like to be your jeweler, come in and see us. And we went to a list broker. We got new move-ins in the last 6 months within a certain distance of the store. I think it was only a mile to fill in. You know, we got like, we did a 2-mile radius and got like 15,000 names. It was crazy how many people were moving in. So we cut it way down, got just the people who'd moved in, and we were able to do household income, homeowners only, things of that nature. We got a double-digit response. We did that 4 times that I know of, and we've had a double-digit response every time.
Yeah, so this again, the idea is you can identify individuals rather than having to go mass media.
Exactly.
Reach out directly to those folks, and if you've paired the list well, your opportunity to convert those suspects into prospects and customers should be higher, and that's a repeatable process. As Paul mentioned, they did it 3 or 4 times with the new move-in list. As I mentioned, Holly did it 3 times in 3 separate subdivisions where she was at. And this market segmentation idea, I think, even elevates the game further, because you can pre-identify the right types of people.
Right, exactly.
So that is something that I would encourage you to consider. Those are strategies that I think can work. Go ahead, Kev.
2 quick questions. Has
Yeah.
anyone in this group done the market segmentation yet? And where do you get the original data from who your customer is? Do you simply ask them, or is there some form they fill out? Or yes.
Good questions. The answer to the first question is no. Nobody from JEMS has done it yet. You've all expressed interest, even people who aren't on the call, all expressed interest when we had that guest on a few months ago that introduced the idea, but nobody's pulled the trigger yet. And we kind of didn't want to, I think we had him on in October or November, and we were heading into the Christmas season. We didn't want to upset any apple carts, but now is probably a good time to, take another look at that. And I'd really encourage us. I'd like to get 3 or 4 of us moving forward in that direction. So that's that. The second question is, how do they figure out what the right people are? And what you do is you give them a list of your best customers. It could be a small list or a large list, but let's say you gave them a list of, probably statistically, the right number is somewhere between 300 and 500. Okay, and I'm drawing that number because I understand it, like 317 from way back in my statistical days on polling and stuff, was the number that you had to get a plus or minus 5%. If you polled like 317 people or something like that. So if you just upload to their company a list of, let's say, 400 of your best customers. They have the data in their database of those individuals. And if you remember the tick marks that we had, they had a list a mile long. It was like 2 pages long of the characteristics of these people and what they like and what they don't like and where they shop and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so they come back to you with, here's your profile, right? Here's the profile of your best customers and what that looks like.
Good. That sounds a lot simpler.
And you get that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get that, and you get to keep that. That's a report. You pay for it. It's not very expensive. It used to be companies would pay tens of thousands of dollars for this, but we're going to be able to bring it in under 500 for sure. Okay, and you get the report with all of its details. After that, you can say, okay, I want a list of 500 people in this physical radius, 1 mile from my store, 2 miles from my store, whatever it happens to be.
Mm-hmm.
I want a list of 500 or 1,000 or 1,500 or whatever number you identify to test with. And that I want them not to be people on my list. They can exclude people who are already in your database. But I want those 500 or 1,000 people, and I want to go out and test this, to this particular list and see what I get. Okay. So that I think is a valuable strategy. All right, now I want to take the next few minutes and review for you the things that we can bring to the table through JEMS from not only the marketing perspective, but from the management perspective as well. And Paul will talk about the management stuff. I'm going to talk about the marketing stuff. As you know, we did a couple of catalogs this year. So this was Hadley's catalog. and it was 24 pages. Both of the catalogs we did were 12 pages. It's a little bit different from yours. If you can hear this, okay, a little bit heavier paper, heavier quality paper. But really, other than that, Hadley's catalog isn't that much different from, what Eric did. Photography's a little bit better, but, and it's lighter paper and it's only 12 pages. But this was Eric's first foray into cataloging. Okay. And I can assure you, and here was, this one was Mike Salem's, very similar to what Eric did, 12 pages. But I can assure you that Hadley paid thousands more to have this done than Eric and Mike did to have theirs done. Literally thousands more. Okay. Again,
Can you show us a copy of Eric's or a comparison side by side?
Yeah, there's Eric's, and here's Hadley's.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
very nice. Mm-hmm.
And here's Mike's. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And
That's
as Eric pointed out, the process of having to put together a catalog is time consuming. We're going to do it again next year, but our goal will be, and by the way, I did, Eric, ask Hadley this as well. Hers hit just before Thanksgiving, but she agreed that it would be better to at least test the idea of getting the catalog to the homes by about November 15th. So
Okay.
she's down with that as well.
Yep.
But having said that, you've got pictures, you got items to choose, you've got pictures to take or acquire, and you've got pricing and all that kind of thing. It's time consuming on your part to do something that complex. There's no doubt about it. But having said that, I thought from the graphic designer's perspective, and certainly the cost of the graphic design and everything else, I was actually thrilled with how those catalogs came together. We had to do a lot of going back and forth with the designers. I think some of that was communication headaches on my part that I think I can iron out, and I think next year's will be much smoother and faster. But as Eric pointed out, hey, if you're going to do something like that, you want to start in July. You had another question, Kev?
how many pages and how much per catalog for Eric's versus Hadley's, if you had to guess?
Well, Hadley's costs her thousands, plural, to just for the graphic design work, right? Now,
Right.
Hadley's got a full-time person and a full-time in-house photography setup, so she was able to do all that. And I don't know how that cost would, but I know that her graphic designer's arrangement would have cost her thousands on that.
Right.
Our guys paid, I think $50 a page, so $600, and then there was a $500 licensing fee. So I think it was $1,100. Does that sound right, Eric?
Yeah, I believe so. And then of course the postage. It was
Right. Yeah,
Just for the paper, though, about how much per catalog? How much per catalog for the paper? Printed, not mail, but just printed. With some of these companies that pay 50 cents, 75 cents to Ashi and these guys, but yeah,
right.
$2 or $1 or.
I can't remember, but I can get that information for you. I've got the invoices, so I can look at it. And you know how it works. I just pass through the invoices, so.
Yeah.
So anyway, graphic design, $70 for a postcard. Again, go ahead and ask a local graphic designer. I mean, you maybe you find some college kid that's willing to do that for that. Kevin and I worked for 3 years with Hanger, and they were okay. But I think, Kevin, you'd agree, wouldn't you, that the quality of the graphic design we've been getting from this outfit that I'm working with has been superior to what Hanger was doing. And Hanger was charging up to $3,600 a month retainer for Kevin for all they did, which was far more than just graphic design. They did video, they did landing pages, they did some of the social media stuff and that kind of thing. But again, we can now handle anything graphic design related for $35 an image. So in other words, you got a front and a back to a postcard. That's $70. Do you need a sign design for your store? Doesn't matter what the size of the sign is. Do you want a billboard? $35. Okay. So again, this is it's almost silly not to be using those services. I mean, for you to hire somebody on a one-off basis any other way is you're not going to be able to beat the price. You're likely to have less continuity. In other words, we have a brand look to Kevin's stuff that is consistent from postcard to postcard to postcard, just as if he was using Hadley's agency, right? Whereas if you go to something like Fiverr, for example, and ask them to do a postcard for you, or one of these other kinds of outfits, yeah, they can do it for, maybe they can do it for $70, right? But the next time around, is it going to look the same? Is it going to have the same, brand feel to it and those kinds of things? And you have to do the process of weeding them out and chasing them down and those kinds of things. This is something that Paul and I thought long and hard about whether we wanted to be able to provide these kinds of services. And yet most jewelers tell us they want a done for you solution. And so we've believe me, spent months trying to find these kinds of solutions and being able to provide them in an economical way that would be, quality wise equal to or better than what you could get elsewhere, and yet at a price that is going to be pretty close to unbeatable. I think we now have a solution for that for web design as well, for landing pages on your sites and those kinds of things. So I don't know exactly what the pricing will be for that, but I think you can look forward to it.
Hi, Susan.
That's Kevin.
Kevin, surprise. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
You saw me.
The home office.
Yeah, what she doesn't realize is this is all being recorded and will be sent out to more than just the people around here.
She's gonna love you.
You got the curlers look. Anyway. So anyway, obviously, Hanger used to do the email designs for Kevin. I've now started to do the email designs, $35 an email. Okay.
Yep.
Texting, same thing. We can work with whoever you're working with to do that, or simply provide you the scripts for those kinds of things. And so that's a bunch of stuff right there that's available to you at prices that are kind of ridiculously low, to be perfectly frank with you. I mean, I've been in the agency business. I know what they charge and how they charge. I know that the agency business has changed over the years, but the fact of the matter is, one of the challenges that we're providing through JEMS that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise is, regardless of who we use to execute these things, it's all being funneled through us. So we're helping to maintain two things. Number one, your brand image. And number two, we're maintaining a focus on direct response strategies and tactics as opposed to, well, we use this agency for that particular thing, but they're not direct response. They don't even know the direct response stuff. They don't even know it for the most part, right? So those are things that we're bringing to the table. Paul, I'd like you to talk about sales training, management training, policies and procedure management, things like, policies and procedures manuals, those kinds of things. And then I'll come back and talk about some more marketing stuff, and we'll wrap it up.
Oh, well, okay. One of the focuses, and those of you who've been with us throughout this past year have noticed, the focus on the management training has all been nuts and bolts. It's, we talk about a little bit of theory here and there. We mix it in. It's just like the marketing coaching that Jim and I have always done. The first things we teach are things that are going to generate dollars now. And I've taken the same focus on the management. What do I do to solve problems now, to get stuff done now? We can talk about theory. We can talk about the prime directive. We can talk about what's meaningful and what's not till the cows come home. But unless we put some processes in place, in practice, your load is not lightened and your machine isn't running any better than it was before we started talking about theory. Now, you don't need to be an automotive engineer to drive a car. You just need to know how to drive the car. And you need to have a car in place that can be driven. When something breaks, you call somebody up who knows how to fix it to get it fixed. All right. And that's the approach we've been taking. That's the approach we're going to continue to take. One of the things I wanted to talk about is I've been following some of the trends with the upcoming generations. Excuse me, the last couple of generations and the upcoming generations of workers. And the 9-to-5 thing is really a rude awakening for them. I don't know how many of you have seen that funny little YouTube video with the millennial that's talking to her new boss, and he says, work time is 8 to 4, and she's, wait a minute, 8 o'clock in the morning? That doesn't really work for me. What do you mean it doesn't work for you? Well, I have to get up and do this, and then I have to check this, and I have to go to my websites, and then I do my Ask Coffee Latte, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I could come in about 10, and you want me to work till 4 or 5 every day? It's really funny. It's a chuckle fest. And the poor old guy, he's my age or Jim's age or whatever. He's just mystified by this person who does not understand. And there have been a lot of those, but things to make a longer joke a whole lot shorter. They're looking for something that has meaning. They don't want to be a cog in a machine. They want to have some responsibility. They want to feel like they're making a difference. 2 things on that. One, if we can give them as much authority as possible over a specified area, a specified portion of the workplace, that'll make a big difference in their emotional fulfillment, if you will. The other thing is to help them feel like they're making a difference in the lives of the guests, the customers, the clients. And that's a pretty good segue into the sales training, because that's what we do. We help people celebrate. What is it you're trying to express with this gift? Are you buying it for yourself or for somebody else? Is this item adequate to express all those emotions we talked about earlier? The 5 simple fundamental questions that we teach in that sales training and how to use them. I'm getting feedback all over the place from people I've trained, especially some of the outfits I've trained repeatedly with new employees. They're loving the fact that they're feeling a connection. They're getting wedding invitations. They're getting graduation notices. They're getting birth announcements. They're getting all kinds of things from these clients that were sold using this Yes Point sales training. So it's definitely providing a more meaningful work environment by following these management principles and getting your machine organized in such a way that they're not just coming in, marking time and going home. It's making a huge difference. So I can't encourage you strongly enough to go back through these recorded sessions and make sure you've done the pieces and parts that we've talked about. Get your organization chart put together, put names in those charts, have the people whose names are in those charts. I apologize for my voice. Create the task lists. Now we're going to talk about the mechanics of compliance and things of that nature. I am not certified for compliance in any state or anything like that, but I'll give you some pointers and some direction as to what to look for. We also have some templates, employee manuals, policies and procedures manuals, that kind of thing on the compliance side that you'll be able to download. But this stuff, it's nuts and bolts. It's meat and potato stuff. We'll talk about theory. I'm here to talk about how to handle specific situations. I'll return phone calls. I'll respond to text just as rapidly as I can. So use this and abuse this. That's what we're here for.
Yep. Yeah, appreciate that, Paul. And I want to emphasize that one-on-one consultation that you get as a member of JEMS. So,
Absolutely.
For example, Kevin requested that Paul talk to him about a management issue, and Paul is going to have that phone call after we get off of this. But you know, we're less than 24 hours later after Kevin made the request of me, and Paul's getting ready to call Kevin and give him that one-on-one consultation for which there is no additional
Hey,
charge.
Paul.
Okay. Don't forget, the coaching is still available. We'll still provide coaching, but instead of providing coaching, you know, and I'm talking about a formal coaching process, instead of it being only marketing, we'll also provide it for sales. We'll also provide it for management. And let's see, the one thing I haven't mentioned is digital and traditional media management. So I've kind of alluded to it a little bit when I talked about the you know, the over-the-top TV and to some degree this market segmentation stuff. But hey, you know, if you are going to do radio, if you are going to do television, if you're going to do billboards and print and all those kinds of things, we can help with the development of the media strategy and the execution of it for both traditional and digital media, meaning, yes, Google ads and Facebook marketing and those kinds of things. And then don't forget, you know, the way we work with most of members is, you know, you write a first draft of something, we help you edit that, and then hand it over to the graphic designers or whoever else needs to get it for production purposes. You know, Kevin is a Legends client, so he gets direct copywriting from scratch as part of his package. But if you need copy written, we can provide that to you for a fee as well. So, you know, if you don't want to go through the headache of writing that first draft, let us know what it is that you need done and we'll write it for you. Okay. And then finally, don't forget the knowledge base. You know, we still have, you know, all of these recordings of these webinars on an ongoing basis are available to you. Past newsletters are available to you. Past videos are available to you. We are going to ramp up our creation of videos this year as well. And articles that we've written and anything that's available is available to you on an unlimited basis for you and your people on the knowledge base. So take full advantage of that as well. So with that, hopefully we're off to a good start to 2024. Should help you with your planning processes. Speaking to Hadley this just a few minutes ago, and like I said, she will be on the call next month, the marketing call next month. She eclipsed the $10 million mark last year. So in 23, she had a record year, did about 10.2 million. and I don't think she'd mind me sharing that with you. And that's just on her showroom. That's just on the selling side. That doesn't count her buying office. So, there's that kind of potential there, and we're going to share with you whatever we can and about how the most successful jewelers continue to do this stuff, and we're going to make available to you those services so that you can execute as well and probably more economically. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll have Hadley in 1 month. In 2 weeks, we'll have Paul's management webinar, and we look forward to working with you on that. Now, one final note to walk my own talk here is referrals. We would love referrals of jewelers who should be members of JEMS. And every time you send us a referral who becomes a member of JEMS, it's $500 for you. So if you're on the monthly plan, it will cover your monthly dues every time you send us a referral. If you're on the annual plan, or you've paid a once in a lifetime fee for your membership, it's just a $500 check to you every time you send us a referral. So please, jewelers who you do not compete with, who could use these services as well, that can offset some or all of your bill. We're happy to do that. Send us those referrals so that they can benefit from this community as well. And frankly, the more jewelers we get to join, the more benefit you will receive from the community as well. All right, with that, we're past time. So thank you again. Happy New Year to all of you. Hope you have a prosperous one, and we look forward to helping you to achieve that. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
All right, Jim, could I quickly add something?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, just two things, again, for Kevin and Paul. You were talking about interest rates on things today. We've been working, at least reminding ourselves, for our line of credit that we offer in the store. Our 36 months program is only 9% interest to the client. So that's far less than any credit card will ever be. So at least I'm just reminding the team, hey, go that angle if you need to. It's not costing us a ton more than taking their credit card, but to me, it's benefit to the client. And also for Google reviews. This is something we implemented and increased our Google reviews dramatically in the month of December. It's just a barcode. It's from a company called DigiFeel, DIGIFEEL.co. All you got to do is, all your client has to do is just hold their phone to it, and it'll automatically take them right to the review page, not your site, but the review page itself, which we've had difficulty getting people to do that while they're in the store. This made it an absolute no-brainer. So, and it is bringing us this. So to me, this is like low cost referrals.
What is it?
DigiFeel, DIGIFEEL.co. But like I said, they can either just shoot it with their camera, shoot it with their barcode scanner, and boom, done. And like I said, we picked up a lot of reviews in December alone, and my wife, who does a lot of our client data cards, has mentioned that she's seeing Google as one of the stronger ways that new clients are finding our business. So I just thought I'd toss that out to you all for today.
Excellent. Thank you. That's exactly what we're talking about, right? In terms of the community and being able to contribute to each other's success. Thank you so much, Eric. Really appreciate that. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you in 2 weeks on the management webinar. Take care, everybody.